Live from WTVO Rockford and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Teenagers accused of shooting at someone during an online purchase meetup. The advice from police so it doesn't happen to you.
Plus, hundreds of soccer players visit the state line. We'll look at what that means to local businesses.
And celebrating the state champs, Auburn High School congratulates its scholastic bowl team. Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson. The entire state line's under a tornado watch as the first of two lines of storms expected to hit us.
Meteorologist Jordan Wolf has been tracking this all day. Let's head back over to the Weather Center for an update. Jordan?
Yeah, we are continuing to watch that severe weather that's going to be working its way through the area. The first wave of storms currently entering the area, still working its way a little bit further off from the south, producing numerous severe thunderstorm warnings, including a tornado warning just to the south of Lee County. This one in Ogle County has been trimmed quite a bit as it continues to move a little bit closer to the Rockford area. Right now, it has not been expanded to include Winnebago County, but that continues to work its way. That cell continues to work a little bit further off to the north and the northwest. These other lines of storms, including parts of Lee County, producing some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That one, as I mentioned, getting closer to the Rockford area right now, so we're going to be seeing a lot more of that lightning and seeing a lot more of those higher winds continuing a little bit closer now as we get later on here in the next couple of minutes and even in the next 20 minutes or so. After with this initial wave of storms continues to work through, that next line a little bit further off to the west, producing numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings across parts of eastern Iowa. That line of storms continues to work its way a little bit closer to the area over the next few hours. So here's what we're looking at with Futurecast the rest of the evening tonight. That first wave of storms continuing to move out. That next wave is going to be entering the area as we get into the next few hours. So right around 5, 6, 7 o'clock is when we're going to be seeing that continuing to push through the state line, getting closer to the Rockford area by the time we get to around 6:30, 7 o'clock. After that all pushes its way out, we get a little bit more of that calmer air and much colder air as well. Even a chance for some snow showers after that. But the severe weather currently working through the area. This is a little bit of a higher risk, a higher end for that severe weather. Level 4 moderate risk, that's the red color there for some of our southern counties. The rest of us remain under an enhanced risk, that's a level 3 out of 5. Those line of storms continuing to work its way closer and closer to the area. We have some eyes in the sky that have actually been on this particular cell of the tornado warning. Savannah Brito and Joey Marino are actually out live right now, chasing that storm, watching it for us, keeping an eye on it. And guys, I hear that you've seen that and maybe even seen a wall cloud earlier.
Afternoon, everybody.
Yes.
Meteorologist Joey Marino here with Joey Greenberg and Savannah Brito. Just to let you guys know, we are driving on Interstate 80 right now, heading towards Interstate 39. So we may, cut out once or twice, but we have been tracking that tornado warning storm that is just south of Lee County. We actually got a good view of a wall cloud with it, and then also Savannah Brito actually observed a funnel or one or two funnels with that as it crossed Interstate 80. Now, over the last about 20 to 25 minutes, we have seen a weakening trend in this storm. They have extended the severe thunderstorm warning to include portions of Lee County. That includes Sublette and Pawpaw. But we're continuing to track eastward right now on Interstate 80, heading towards Interstate 39. And we're actually going to jump on Interstate 39 northward so that we can continue to track this storm and keep up with it just to see what it will do as it makes its way into our viewing area. As I mentioned, it has shown a lot of weakening over the last half hour since we got a good view of that wall cloud. Really not seeing much of a wall cloud presence right now. But like I said, we're going to be heading on to 39 in about a couple of minutes here, heading towards Mendota and Pawpaw, heading towards Stewart, just to keep track of that storm as it makes its way into the state line. Mimi?
All right, thanks, you guys. And if you need a safe place to go in southern Winnebago County during the storms, both Blackhawk and New Milford fire stations will be open as severe weather shelters. You can monitor the storms on our First Warn weather app. Click on the radar to see as the second round moves into the state line right from the palm of your hand. The app is free to download for Apple or Android users.
4 Rockford teens, including 2 who are just 15, are charged in an armed robbery and shootout. Police were called to Kirsten Court for reports of an armed robbery and shots fired. That's off of Newburgh and Arnold Avenue. 2 people met up with the teens to sell some items. That's when police say one of the 15-year-olds pulled out a gun and started shooting. One of the victims, who was a concealed carry holder, pulled out his own gun and shot back. The 4 teens ran off but were later caught. Police found the gun the teen had was reported stolen out of Genoa. The 2 15-year-olds and 2 17-year-olds are charged with a number of offenses, including armed robbery, also for being wanted on a warrant for aggravated discharge of a weapon. Rockford's police chief reminds people there are safe zones in the area for meeting up with strangers for online purchases. That list is right there on your screen. It's all inside police stations. Chief Red says if the buyer or seller doesn't want to meet at one of these locations, take that as a red flag.
Fire departments in Illinois and across the country receive federal grants aimed at beefing up staffing and buying vital equipment.
These funds that are sent from Washington to these local fire departments make sure that the men and women who are keeping us safe have the most up-to-date equipment, and that if some of it has been outmoded or needs to be replaced, they have financial help directly to do that.
Senator Dick Durbin said the Fire Grants and Safety Act got bipartisan support. It passed the Senate 96-0. Since 2020, Illinois fire departments have been awarded more than $60 million through the program.
A major soccer tournament in the state line this weekend means big business. The Rockford Raptors Peary Cup College Showcase should be going on right now at Sports Core 1 and 2, but because of the storms, today's games were canceled. 250 teams of kids ages 12 to 19 will show off their skills to college coaches. That's going to happen tomorrow. Then in April, another 400 teams will visit. The Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau estimates all those players and families means about 4,000 out-of-town guests, spending over $4 million in the region. Rockford's Carlyle Brewing is in new hands. Yesterday, the new owners of the brew pub downtown took over. Back in 2021, Don Carlyle announced he was closing the brewery and planned to sell. Less than a year later, they reopened. Then news came out that Woodfire, just down State Street, would be taking over, and Carlisle's owners were once again retiring.
Some familiar faces are the focus of a special day at their Rockford High School. The faces are familiar if you're a fan of Bergstrom State Line Quiz Bowl. While our tournament's still going on, Auburn High School's Scholastic Bowl team just won the state championship. Today, the entire school celebrated with them. Team members and coaches were invited to the main gym and recognized for their season. Then they had a mini Quiz Bowl match with some of the teachers.
And we got to show the school sort of what Quiz Bowl is. A lot of the kids don't get to see it that much because it's not widely publicized like a basketball or a football game. So it was really cool to get to let everyone see it.
By the way, the high schoolers beat their teachers by quite a bit in that mini match. Auburn has some impressive state tournament statistics. The Knights came in first in 2008 and 2015. They've been our Quiz Bowl champs for 8 of the last 9 years.
Pretty amazing. President Trump is indicted, so now what's next?
Coming up, we'll learn more about when he could surrender and how this case compares to other world leaders charged in crimes.
And severe weather continues to work its way through the state line here late into the afternoon and into the evening tonight. I'll continue to track these storms and let you know what to expect the rest of the evening coming up in your full forecast in a little bit.
You're watching Eyewitness News, your home team with Eric Wilson, Mimi Murphy, Scott Lever, and meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
President Trump is the first president or former president to ever be indicted by a grand jury.
This leaves a lot of people questioning what comes next. The case centers around hush money paid to Stormy Daniels, an adult film actress who claimed to have an affair with the former president. Trump denies the affair. It's not clear what exactly the charges are. They are sealed. They're likely connected to how Daniels was paid for her silence during the 2016 campaign. Experts believe if the case goes to trial, it may be difficult to find an impartial jury. A political science professor from Bradley University in Peoria says the United States can look at other countries for reference when it comes to how to move forward.
The former president of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, he was convicted of corruption charges. Silvio Berlusconi in Italy. There's been, I think, 3 or 4 presidents of South Korea in the last 10 years. So this is not unheard of from a comparative perspective, but from the United States, this is obviously unheard of.
Trump is expected to appear in person for his arraignment next week. After entering a plea, he'd be released and given another court date. The charges do not require him to post bail.
The first taste of spring storms has it all. Severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado watches across the state line.
Coming up next, Jordan reminds us this is just round 1. He'll show us how long before the sky lights up again.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
A very active, severe weather day here across the state line. A moderate level 4 risk issued for many of our parts, especially toward the south, our southern counties there. A little bit further off to the southwest, a level 5 high risk is for some of those areas. A little bit further off to the southeast, where some of the higher confidence in some of these storms continues to remain in place. Locally, we are under that tornado watch for the entire state line that lasts either until 8 p.m. tonight or 10 p.m. tonight, depending on where you are. Further out to the west, it does end a little bit earlier with that line of storms continuing to push through. Right now, we do have some of those storms that are moving through parts of the state line. Right now, we only have one active severe thunderstorm warning, and that's for far southeastern Lee County, where the potential for quarter-sized hail exists. That storm moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. Just to the south of that, a tornado warning does still remain in place. However, that cell continuing to lift a little bit further to the north and the northeast as well. However, we do have to watch out for this next line of storms coming through, producing numerous tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings across parts of eastern Iowa. As that continues to come closer to the area, that next line of storms going to be impacting us over the next few hours. We are still seeing a lot of that rain, some very heavy rainfall remaining in place, especially over downtown Rockford at the moment. Skies looking fairly ominous in some spots, but we are not really seeing as much of these stronger storms here locally at the moment as we are seeing a little bit further out to the west. We do have to keep an eye on some of those as we continue over the next few hours. So here we go with Futurecast now, as the most of the storms that are currently working their way through, lifting further to the north and northeast. That next line of storms is going to pack a little bit more of a punch. That's where we're going to be seeing some of those higher chances for very high-end severe thunderstorm wind gusts, as well as the potential for some embedded tornadoes. Some small hail also possible with this line of storms. Entering the state line as we get close to 6 o'clock, then 7 o'clock as it gets closer to Rockford. 8 and 9 o'clock is when it continues to push a little bit further off to the east, impacting some of our far eastern counties. We are clear from that by the time we get to around 9, 10 o'clock, even close to 11 this evening. That's when we start to calm down a little bit. So some of the takeaways here is we need to make sure that we are aware of what our severe plan is going to be. In the case that a warning does get issued, as we've had some issued across parts of the state line earlier, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Where's the safest place to be in the event that a warning does get issued? And then also making sure that you have multiple ways to receive those warnings in the case that any of those get issued. So making sure to plan ahead is the main takeaway. After all of this moves out, we do have to worry about still some stronger wind gusts as a wind advisory takes effect after that tornado warning ends and lasts into tomorrow afternoon. Wind gusts could peak at close to 50 miles per hour outside of thunderstorms as we get into the afternoon tomorrow, especially before we eventually start to see those quiet and calm down a little bit. That does usher in some much colder air as our highs tomorrow, after reaching 70 today, only 44 tomorrow, back into the 50s and then the low 60s for the next couple of days. And then, guys, we might be talking about some more storms that will be working their way through early next week.
It is that time of year. All right, Jordan, thanks.
Scott's in next with sports. He'll join us live from the BMO Center, where the Ice Hogs will open up a busy and critical weekend in their push for the playoffs.
And we'll learn about some Chicago sports legends and some former Packers competing in Rockford this summer.
Now sports with sports director Scott Leber.
Well, the regular season is rapidly winding to a close for the Rockford Ice Hogs, but they still have some unfinished business to take care of. They need to nail down that playoff berth, and it starts here tonight as they host the Laval Rocket. These two teams have met once before this season, and that game went through an epic 11-round shootout before the Ice Hogs won that game 2-1. That was on March the 4th. The Hogs are still sitting in the fifth and final playoff position in the Central Division with 9 games to play, counting this one, and they trail fourth place Iowa by only 3 points. The Hogs need to overtake Iowa to secure home ice advantage in the opening playoff round. And since tonight's game is one of 3 they'll play this weekend, that's a lot of points up for grabs.
If we can figure out 6 points here, I think that'll just be really good for our confidence moving forward, and I think hopefully give us a boost in the standings here. We're still fighting for that home ice advantage for the first round of playoffs, and that's going to be everything against a team that we've been battling hard with all season long.
You know, we've been working towards this little push all year, so it's been in the back of our minds, and now it's finally here, so just got to kind of take it one game at a time and try to capitalize when we can.
It's going to be a grind this weekend for the Hogs. Tomorrow night they will play the Wolves in Rosemont. Sunday afternoon they'll be back here for a game against Grand Rapids. And the guys were honest when I asked them how daunting it is to play 3 games in 3 days.
It's hard. I mean, we haven't had one this year, which is we're all super grateful for. You know, I think it's super tough. There's nothing you can do to prepare for 3 games in 3 nights. It's pretty crazy because, you know, even after one game, you know, you leave it all out there, and the next day you're pretty sore. And then when you have that 3rd game, I mean, it's so hard.
It sounds easy to pace yourself, but when you're out there playing and you got other guys on the other side trying to kill you, it's tough to do that. So I think it's just go as hard as you can, and whatever your 100% is that night, that's what you give.
In baseball tonight, the White Sox go after their 2nd straight win in Houston. Lance Lynn will be on the mound. The Cubs and the Brewers had today off. They will go at it tomorrow afternoon at 1:20 at Wrigley Field. Now, the Ribbits have some big news. They have a big day planned for this summer. On Saturday, July 15th, they are bringing in some Chicago sports legends and some Wisconsin sports legends to square off in a celebrity softball game. Legends who have committed so far include Mike Singletary and Andre Dawson for the Chicago team, and former Packers Amon Green, Gilbert Brown, and George Teague, plus former Milwaukee Buck Paul McKeskey. It should be a lot of fun. Part of the proceeds from that game will go toward the Rockford Boys and Girls Club. That's it from the BMO. We'll be right back.
Round 1 of severe weather is kind of winding down a little bit as the National Weather Service is allowing the last active severe thunderstorm warning to expire here in the next couple of minutes. Round 2 on the way soon. Be sure to stay tuned online and on the air for any updates for that. Much colder, even some snow showers tomorrow, back into the 60s. More storms next week.
All right, thanks, Jordan.
And thank you for spending some time with us. Stay safe.